I think it's pretty safe to say that by far the big driving force for the hype of this movie has all to do with Darth Sidious, also known as Palpatine, portrayed by Ian McDiarmid once more in this story by director J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one aspect of Palpatine that a lot of fans are very puzzled over is, of course, his role in the movie. Exactly how in the world did he survive the second Death Star, which we actually went over briefly a couple of days ago, which we will be going over a little bit more in greater detail later on, but let's get right on to this. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions involving Kylo Ren, Rey, and even Darth Sidious, this is where things begin to get very intense for Episode 9. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about all of this is that shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that Rey is said to be entering Palpatine's throne room, where she appears to be very scared, where she is viewing Palpatine in the shadows, where he is described to be hovering over her on his throne while attached to a large crane system. This crane system is what allows Palpatine to survive, where in back of his throne it's described that there are devices full of fluid, keeping him stable as he is way over 100 years old in the film after surviving the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi. The next describes a sequence in which the crane system opens and lightly places Palpatine on his throne. Though Palpatine may appear weak, it's said that he has all what he needs during the moment. This is where Rey is said to ignite her blue lightsaber that once belonged to both Luke and Anakin, where while Palpatine is giving Rey a lecture about her parents and the dark side of the Force, she begins to get very angry. Palpatine is begging Rey to strike him down in anger to bring herself to the dark side fully, where Palpatine is doing this to lure Ben Solo into the same room as Palpatine's manipulation works successfully, where Rey is falling for the trick, which brings Ben Solo in to warn Rey about how to not fall for his tricks and his manipulation. This is where Palpatine is successful, where he needed both Ben and Rey in the same room to perform the Force Conduit technique in order to rejuvenate himself as he appeared in Revenge of the Sith. It's said that one of the scenes involves a sequence in which Palpatine aims his arms and hands at both Ben and Rey, where they are now put into a Force freeze state, also known as Force stasis, where Sidious is robbing the energy from both Kylo Ren and Rey. This is where Sidious begins to shoot lightning into the sky, causing ships to fall by his Force storm technique. While this happens, Palpatine's eyes are surprisingly red, temporarily, where once he begins to stop the Force storm, they return to the iconic yellow Sith eyes, where Palpatine is now able to stand and walk around without the crane device. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the thing about this particular moment that really stands out to me a lot, and it does allude to what we saw very briefly at the very end of the final trailer of The Rise of Skywalker, where you do see all the way over to the left portion of the frame Palpatine hooked up to some kind of machine. This machine now is actually said to be a crane system. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but for The Force Awakens, J.J. Abrams originally wanted to do this crane system in the movie for the character of Kylo Ren, where his arm would be placed into a mechanical arm. Now, this is all going to be used for the character of Palpatine. Basically, J.J. is using a lot of scrapped material from The Force Awakens and incorporating it into Episode 9. Now, let's go over how Palpatine really truly is the ultimate puppet master still, even in this particular scene at the very end of the third act of Episode 9. Now, this is said to be a moment in which Palpatine is begging Rey to strike him down in anger, very similar to what he was telling Luke to do in Episode 6, right? And Luke was refusing to do that. And that's where Palpatine said, where with each passing moment you become more my servant. That's exactly what led Luke to falling for Palpatine's manipulation, where he tried to kill him and Vader blocks the attack. And that's where the fight begins between Luke and Vader. Now in this scenario, Palpatine is actually using this technique to draw in Ben Solo because he knows that Ben Solo is smarter than Rey is, and that Ben actually knows what Palpatine is up to. He knows that Ben is smarter than, Anakin or Luke was. So the fact that Ben knows about Palpatine's manipulation, how he was able to really turn Anakin to the dark side into becoming Darth Vader, that's a lot to know for Ben. And in this particular scene, this is where, of course, he uses the Force Conduit technique. Now, first things first, before he uses this device, or should I say this technique, while he's disconnected from the device, he actually uses the Force Conduit technique while they're actually put into a Force stasis. So force stasis is a force freeze technique. We've seen Kylo Ren do this to Rey on Takodana in The Force Awakens in the woods, where she cannot move at all. That's what Palpatine is doing to both Rey and Kylo Ren inside of his throne room, where as he actually holds them in one spot, he's drawing the energy from their bodies into his own, where he becomes rejuvenated. He becomes a little bit younger in design, looking more like how he did in Revenge of the Sith. Mind you that the Palpatine that we're going to get in this movie is going to be like how we saw him in Return of the Jedi, except way older. So you can only imagine what he's going to look like on the verge of death before getting rejuvenated. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.